Welcome to Podcast, the Business of Dentistry podcast, brought to you by Practice Plan. Podcast delivers the best business advice, real-life stories, and practical hints and tips to make your practice a more profitable and sustainable business. And now, here's your host.
Hello and welcome to Practice Plan's podcast. My name's Hazel Dockery and with me today is Ed O'Reilly from Dentaqua. Thanks for joining us, Ed.
Hi, Hazel. Delighted to be with you.
Now, Ed and I will probably be talking about sustainability today, but I'm sure there's a few people that may have heard of your company and you, but there'll be others who haven't. So please tell us a bit more about yourself and your company.
Sure. As you mentioned, I'm Ed O'Reilly. I'm the founder of Dentaqua. What Dentaqua is a product developed specifically for dental practices. And what it does is it replaces bought-in chemical disinfectants and produces Dentaqua dental water. So in effect, the device, the system, you could consider it more or less like an espresso machine, but for producing your own disinfectants on site at the touch of a button. What Dentaqua replaces are single-use wipes, traditional dental water disinfectants, and it's also used in a number of other applications within the practice as well. So from a sustainability standpoint, the solution itself that the technology produces is activated hypochlorous acid, and I'm sure some of your listeners will be aware of hypochlorous acid and the fact that it's a very powerful disinfectant, yet wholly non-toxic to man, woman, and the environment. So that, coupled with the fact that the Dentaqua offering is, rather than buying in, say, single-use wipes, you use the Dentaqua solution with a spray bottle that we provide, and you use biodegradable paper towels. So that's one example. And in getting rid of single-use wipes, we're all aware, obviously, how controversial wipes can be. We can all kind of imagine just the environmental cost of them. They're usually made from plastics, polyester, and there's chemicals within, and there's transport, and there's storage, and there's disposal, and so on and so forth, of packaging, etc. So by eliminating those out of the dental practice environment, it is far more sustainable. There are cost savings, of course, but also going on from the sustainability, not just environmentally sustainability, but also sustainable, but kind of human health sustainable as well, because what Dentaqua does is it overcomes one of the more significant risk factors that are in dental practices now, and that is the inhalation of chemical disinfectants. So just to say a little bit about that. So in recent years, there's been more and more publications, research publications about the effect of chemical disinfectants on healthcare workers from a respiratory standpoint. Good number of publications out of Japan, out of the US, and so on, and some of them with an enormous cohort size. But the findings are fairly consistent. Chemical exposure, or healthcare workers who are repeatedly exposed to chemical disinfectants have double-digit higher incidence of COPD, asthma, etc., etc. So again, by eliminating the single-use wipes, you're eliminating the chemicals that are subsequently evaporated off the surface and inhaled. You're eliminating that risk. And it's almost every day now that a Dentaqua customer, that we're in conversations with them, and they tell us, gee, having gotten rid of the single-use wipes and started using Dentaqua, such and such a person that used to have a sinus issue or a migraine issue or a catching of the throat or whatever it is, no longer has that issue. So it's very satisfying to be able to hear those stories.
Yeah, and so I mean, I have to admit that I had no idea that the dangers involved in using the disinfectants, the chemical disinfectants, and the particular illnesses that healthcare workers would be subjected to. So, I mean, I was really quite impressed when I heard that. So, how did you come up with the idea of Dentaqua?
Yeah, well, we did it. If I was ever speaking to anybody about starting a business or developing a technology or whatever it is, we did it the wrong way around. Uh, we, we started really looking at an area of science, the electrolysis of salt and water. And
Mm.
over many years and quite a few pounds later, having a kind of a device prototypes and so on that could generate these types of solutions. And then we went in search of applications for them. So in reality, it was a solution in search of a problem. But as it turns out, thankfully, the problems were there. Well, to an
Yeah.
extent, thankfully, the problems were there. And our very first, we still had the core technology in prototype form, actually, in fact, when we were contacted by a dental school, a well-regarded dental school, somewhere in Europe, let's just say.
Yeah.
And they had significant issues with their dental water. They had blooms throughout their dental school and tanks and water lines and so on and so forth. So we were asked if our technology could be a solution. So we kind of rushed in and we installed a system and remediated the entire school's water system literally over 2 days or so.
Wow.
And from that, then we established some relationships within the kind of the dental research side of things, became familiar with the applications, became familiar with the need really from a dental water standpoint. So it began really with dental water disinfection and then led on to surface disinfection generally because we felt that the device, the product, had to offer, to be viable, had to offer more than one application.
Yeah.
It had to do more than that, which thankfully now it's doing. So, Dentaqua customers today have gotten rid of surface disinfectants, disinfectant wipes, dental waterline disinfectants. So there's quite a few products that no longer need to be ordered in on an ongoing basis. And that then, thankfully, more often than not, the savings is usually greater than the cost of the Dentaqua system.
Really, because sometimes you do have to pay more, up front for a sustainable option, don't you?
You do, but it rarely works out well. You'll get some early adopters or some people who are particularly passionate about sustainability who may go with a product if that's the case, but it's just like electric cars and so on now. If the numbers don't add up, people simply won't go for it. So
Mm.
everything needs to add up. It needs to be almost everything. It needs to be sustainable, reliable. There needs to be cost savings, etc.
So you're not just selling someone a principle then, basically.
No, we're not. No, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We were
Um,
warned about that in the dental industry, in fact, as we were going into it.
really?
Be very, very sure that this is viable. It'll be thoroughly tested and scrutinized and simply won't succeed unless it works.
Yeah, well, dentists are often detail people, so yeah, they
Yes.
they like that kind of thing to work out.
Yes.
Yeah. So, where do you how large are you now? I mean, how big is your customer base, and
Yeah.
where do you sell to?
Yeah, so we're in three markets principally. Would you believe our first market was the North American market? Actually, in fact, we launched this particular Dentaqua product because, of course, we've been in dental schools for many, many years now, and that's usually more of an engineered offering. You're integrated into the building's plumbing and so on and so forth, and it usually might happen when a school is being renovated or being retrofitted with new equipment. And sometimes we might go in there, we might be brought in by the dental chair provider, for example, if they're kitting out a new school, they'll incorporate our offering within their offering. But the Dentaqua product that we're presently very much kind of focused on, that took many years to come about because we had a lot of work to do technology wise to compress the technology down to a kind of a very manageable or convenient size,
Mm.
ensure it is reliable for kind of a mass market and not just a kind of an engineered offering, but something basically that very much needs to stand the test of time and
Mm.
also to get the cost right. So 5 years ago, that product was launched and we launched it in California, in fact, US West Coast, because it was felt that, that part of the world is also quite receptive to sustainable
Yeah,
offerings.
yeah.
Since then, we continued in the US, we're in the UK, and we're in Ireland as well. obviously the Irish and UK market are almost sister markets, and many regards one market, in fact. In total, we're in over 1,000 practices now with the system.
Right.
So over 500 in the UK. We're in 250 here in Ireland, and over 300 in the UK.
Right. Okay. So, is it growing through word of mouth, or how are you actually promoting things?
Yeah, very good question. These things take time. It's always slowly at the start, and I suppose in the kind of the early years, it feels very much like you're spinning your wheels, but then you just get traction, and it's just a little bit better every day as
Yeah.
time goes
Yeah.
on. But it's very much about trust and relationships. It's critically important with what is a kind of a free, even though the science of hypochlorous acid is reasonably well understood by the industry, having it delivered in a dedicated dental device that's really kind of very much kind of to fit the needs and the requirements of the dental industry that hadn't really been seen before. So it does take a bit of time to develop trust. And what actually happens from a product adoption standpoint, and I've seen this in a number of different products and businesses over the years, is that you launch a product and things get off to a very good start initially. And what's happening there basically is you're getting early adopters. So
Mm.
there are early adopters. There are people who are technically curious, very keen to get their hands on new technology, experience new technology, and so on. So you get early adopters that will sign up very quickly. And probably most of your customers in the early years will be early adopters. They make up, in my experience, about 5%, about 1 in 20 of the market. And it's almost regardless of what market you're in.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
that's that
Yeah.
5% basically. And then 95% wait. That 95% are more cautious. They're probably they're clearly passionate about what they do, but they're just not necessarily as passionate as the early adopters about new technology, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there is actually kind of very often there's a 3-year lag between launch, early adopter pickup, then basically, and then the market can then more broadly feeling comfortable about it. And there's a lot of things that need to be seen. The references need to be seen, and case studies and so on. They need to see that the
Mm.
technology, the product is being successful in the marketplace. They need to see that the product is lasting actually, and it's not
Mm.
just a flash in the pan. So when all of those things are delivered to the market, and along with the passage of time, then you see broader market adoption, and that's actually what we're seeing now, which is great. And we're very we're very grateful to the market for appreciating what we have, and for there's dental practices in the UK that are now signing up every week, if not even every day at this stage.
Oh, that's great. So
Yeah.
is it the health benefits to the staff, or is it the sustainability element that is selling it to people?
Yeah, well, when we began with this and began in the area of science generally, it was really very much focused on the sustainability side of
Mm.
things. And it's still very much focused on sustainability. Of course, if you can generate disinfectants on site using only water, the device itself, which is a kind of a one-off environmental cost, so to speak, at least for 10 years or so, for as long or more, for as long as the device lasts. And then the only consumable basically is a trace amount of a very specific salt, largely sodium chloride. It's a bespoke Dentaqua solution, but it's largely sodium chloride. And when in a dental practice, a 500 ml bottle of the salt will actually produce a quarter of a ton of disinfectant, in
Oh
fact.
gosh.
So you literally that's how we visualize the transport and logistics and packaging saving. So
So
that
it's not bulky or anything really then, is it? No.
our practices all they will have delivered to them from us is say 2 500 ml bottles of solution
Yeah.
annually, and that
Yeah.
produces every drop of disinfectant that they require, and all of their dental water requirements as well, in fact.
Wow.
Now, of course, there are paper towels that are required as well, but the supply chain and the nature of those products are far more sustainable than single-use wipes, because
Mm.
they're made of paper. It's renewable. They are shipped dry, so they are less weighty, and so on, rather than single-use wipes made of plastics shipped wet, heavier, and of course far more expensive than that as well. Yeah.
Wow.
So to answer your question, sorry,
Sorry.
Hazel,
Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
I went off on a tangent myself. But the sustainability very much was, and it still is very much about sustainability. However, it really, and in more recent years, safety became a kind of a significant focus as well. Yes, we're very passionate about sustainability, but with what we've learned and also what we've seen over the years, looking at water lines, seeing inside dental chairs, yeah, reading the stories, even reading the peer-reviewed publications and so on and so forth. I was in Anaheim in California, and I spoke to some people there. Basically, there was an outbreak in a dental clinic where I'm going to be conservative in this number because it is more than this. Where over 60 children were hospitalized from a mycobacterium. So that is a water contaminant, basically microbe that they picked up in one specific dental practice there, and that those infections were so significant actually that some children even had to have pieces of their jaws removed. It was outrageous what occurred there. But a particular type of mycobacterium contamination basically had caused that, and there were others around the States as well. But I was, when I was in California, I was on the ground there basically, and I spoke to people that were connected to that, and it was just absolutely horrendous, never mind, obviously, for the families and for the kids themselves. So safety has really come to the fore, both from a dental water standpoint. And then more recently now that the data on disinfectant chemical inhalation is coming out. The data has been there for quite some time, but the really robust data is really only in the last 4 or 5 years, where very significant studies were done. One study in the US, the National Institute of Health, the cohort size was 78,000 healthcare workers, and that particular study found that healthcare workers exposed to disinfectants have a 28% higher, there's a 28 higher percent higher incidence of COPD within that cohort group. And dentistry was specifically mentioned within that as being at the highest end of the range because of the repeated exposure to chemical disinfectants. Because within dentistry, their surgeries are turned over many times a day, and there's wipe downs occurring continuously within a dental practice. Even in the hospital environment, generally, in most places, you don't see that frequency of cleaning and that frequency of exposure. So that is, absolutely sustainability critically important. But I think what is certainly has us thinking far more than anything else is just that chemical exposure. And the fact that it's also kind of maybe creating some awareness as well. The assumption has always been there that chemical inhalation is only relating to spray disinfectants because they're sprayed and they're aerosolized, for the want of a better word, and so on. However, inhalation, in our opinion, is far more significant and far more risky, in fact, from using even wipes, because in that circumstance, one wipes a surface. At least two, regardless of what disinfectant wipe one is using, at least 2 grams of chemical disinfectant is deposited onto the surface. So the surface will be moist for a short period of time afterwards. The ingredient list is often very significant, a long list of ingredients within those wipes. However, you wipe down a surface, you come back 2 minutes later and the surface is dry. So where has the liquid, where have those chemical compounds gone? They've actually evaporated off into the air, but in a very fine micro form, where, unlike spray particles, that microform, they're inhaled deep down into the lungs. And it's happening all day, every day, unbeknownst to most people. And again, that is a very significant risk.
Do masks protect against that kind of thing at all?
No, because just like humidity, there's humidity in the air, and a mask won't take humidity out of it, basically. So again, it's in such a fine form, evaporated off, existing in the air, just like the moisture in the air, basically. So they wouldn't, in fact. No, it would want to be a very sophisticated mask to do that, but a regular face mask or anything close to it wouldn't.
Right. Okay. So really, dental teams are at considerable risk from what you're saying.
I believe so, yes. And well, the data says so.
Yeah, the data says so, not just you.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are your plans for the future?
We'd like to continue with what we're doing. We don't. How would I put this? Our business is growing, but is growing reasonably organically.
Hmm.
We don't try to kind of over push the business or even over push the market to try and force anyone to adopt Dentaqua. But we do put ourselves out there and we attend trade shows and we're involved in the dental communities in a number of different areas and so on. So really it is to see more and more practices see the benefit of Dentaqua over
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Really, that's it. And I suppose from our standpoint, really, it's just we do enjoy just happy customers and the very positive feedback. And the more customers we have, the more positive feedback we're likely to get.
well, let's hope it continues. Thank you so much for your time, Ed. It's been great speaking to you.
It's been a pleasure, Hazel, and thank you very much.